Hello, everyone, and welcome. And thank you for joining the Thomas Expert Series. We're going to get started in just a moment. And I just want to let everyone know, please mute their microphones just in case any feedback comes through. This expert series will be recorded and placed on demand, so please let your colleagues know how much you enjoyed the presentation today. To get everyone a little familiar with the chat function, I'm just curious where everyone is tuning in from today. I'm over in New Jersey and it's nice and sunny outside. Wish I was out there. Got Philly, Georgia, Jersey, North Carolina, Arizona, Florida.
California.
Oh, cool. Got another Georgia. All right, so at this time, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Robert, Tim, and Amy here today to talk about excellence is not automatic, how superior automation tips are made and used.
All right, thank you, Heather. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Robert Gearty. I'm the Director of Sales in North America for Labcon. Joining me today are my colleagues, Amy Carson, Labcon's Pacific Region Sales Representative based in Southern California, and Tim King, our Product Manager based at Labcon headquarters in Petaluma, California. So today we're going to discuss the topic of disposable automation tips and some of the factors involved in their design, manufacture, and quality assurance. We suggested at the outset that while they are called automation tips, the making of these tips is certainly not automatic. We've put together a brief agenda for some guidance. So today's presentation will cover several areas of interest: pipette tips in general, their use, and the value they bring in various liquid handling applications, some of the similarities and distinctions between automation and manual tips, design and manufacturing techniques, the importance of the quality inspection process, a summary of what we've discussed, and we'll also provide a brief review of Labcon's portfolio of automation consumables. And at that point, then we'll turn it over to a Q&A session. And at this point, I will turn it over to my colleague, Amy Carson.
Thanks, Bob. So as we start, we're talking about some of the similarities between both manual and automation tips. The goal when you're pipetting with any tip is to safely, accurately, and precisely transfer liquid from one point to another while eliminating contamination. And you want to efficiently perform the requirements of your particular experiment. And whether you're using a manual or an automation tip, they both add value in reducing handling errors and enhancing the precision and accuracy of your results. Both of these tip options are made with 100% virgin, non-cytotoxic, medical grade polypropylene resin, and this resin is also FDA compliant. So now we're going to turn our focus specifically to manual pipette tips for a few minutes. These tips are widely used in research and testing applications. They are meant to integrate with handheld air displacement pipettes, which can be either manual or electronic, single or multi-channel. When you're using a manual pipette tip with handheld pipettes, the results are going to be dependent upon having a technically competent user, a well-maintained and routinely calibrated pipette, as well as a consistent, high-quality pipette tip. Looking at the features of some of manual pipette tips, you can see they have many different features, and Labcon's manual tip collection, excuse me, is designed to fit a variety of applications. Moving into the design of a manual tip, these tips need to be uniformly designed in order to consistently work with your pipette. Ergonomics is also important, because we need to try to reduce the stress associated with repetitive motion and also mounting and ejection forces. And having this tip be compatible with a variety of different brands of pipette is pretty key, because a lot of labs are using multiple brands of pipetters in the lab, and they need to find a tip that's going to work with many of them so that they don't have to buy 3 or 4 different tip options. One last point to make about the design of a manual pipette tip is it needs to be somewhat flexible, because it has to accommodate the fact that it's being used by many human operators, all of which have varying techniques with respect to how they mount and eject the tips, as well as their aspiration and dispensing strokes. Now we're going to pivot our focus to the main topic of today, which is going to be automation tips. And while automation tips are similar to manual tips in some ways, they vary in that the goal in making automation tips is to have these tips as uniformly consistent and as high performing as possible, because these products are designed for a specific instrument. So unlike manual tips, which are designed to work with multiple brands of pipettes, automation tips are designed for a particular instrument. And these tips must fit securely on each nozzle across the entire head. This uniform fit between each tip and the instrument head is critical to preventing errors. Looking at, or listed here, are some applications where laboratories may want to automate their process in order to increase their testing capabilities and their performance. 3 basic application areas that we have listed are clinical labs that may want to automate several applications, including next generation sequencing, pharma labs for drug discovery and development, and a life science lab for genomics, among other applications. And at this point, I'll turn the presentation back over to Bob to talk about the benefits of automation.
Thanks, Amy. So there are a number of reasons why labs select to utilize automated platforms for their liquid handling applications. One, excuse me, automated systems support high throughput. More sampling can be processed in shorter periods of time. This enables faster analysis of the results as well. Automated systems can minimize or even eliminate the human error factor, which is inherent in manual pipetting processes. So as a consequence of that, accuracy, precision, and overall dependability of results is increased. Productivity is increased on a larger scale overall. Not only are results improved, but staff can be assigned to important but less tedious and repetitious tasks. Automation systems minimize, if not eliminate, the risk of injury to staff as well, in the form of RSIs such as carpal tunnel syndrome. This slide illustrates some of the well-known and respected industry players in the field of automation workstations. Revity, though a relatively new name, is a result of PerkinElmer's life science and diagnostic spinoff, a recent move. Among these manufacturers, they produce different platforms for various liquid handling applications, which can also have different consumables requirements. Those differences in platforms are not only inter-company, but can be intra-company, meaning, from an automation tip perspective, an automation tip must be designed to be really ultra compatible with the dispensing head it is used with, regardless of who the platform manufacturer is. Getting into the design of automation tips, similarly to what Amy mentioned a few moments ago, uniformity is important. And automation tip design hinges on that as well as some other factors. As important as uniformity is to manual tip manufacturing, it's even more so for automation tips. Unlike human technicians using manual pipettes, robotic platforms cannot adjust to much, if any, variability in terms of tip geometry or dimension. In short, there's less margin for error between automation tips, the racks that they're supplied in, manufactured with, and the robotic platforms they're combined with compared to the use of manual tips and pipettes overall. So automation tip design really requires next level consistency for seamless operation. Compatibility and fit between automation tips and the specific platform or head system that they're designed for must work as a kind of hand in glove or plug and play solution. In other words, a guaranteed fit. If you think about it, while a manual tip of say 200 microliter capacity can usually work well enough with a variety of manual pipettes from different manufacturers, a 200 microliter automation tip is designed for and will usually work only with the dispensing head it was designed for. Our automation tips are made from 100% virgin polypropylene, medical grade USP class 6 resins. In addition, they're hydrophobic to ensure sample purity. A little bit more about what goes into the design, excuse me, of the automation tips. They are designed with critical parameters in mind, such as mounting and ejection forces, the distance between tips within a rack, and consistent tip depth within that rack. Meeting the requirements with exacting precision ensures that a tip is where it's supposed to be at any given moment and where the instrument expects it to be. The programmability leaves very little margin for error, if any, in that regard. In addition to loading or mounting onto the dispensing heads properly, automation tips must also eject cleanly and completely. They're also designed to meet SBS standards with respect to footprint and positioning requirements, and to ensure compatibility with respect to the tip plate well interface. Tips must be positioned dead center in each well of a plate they're going to dispense into in order to work properly. We also utilize conductive tip racks in our manufacture to dissipate static charge to ensure reliable operation. And with that, I will turn the presentation over to Tim King.
Thanks, Bob. So in these sections, we'll discuss in more detail how Labcon's manufacturing and quality testing processes support the production of consistent, high-quality automation tips. So the objective for manufacturing processes is to meet design dimensions and maintain product uniformity. Robotic tip manufacturing ensures consistent handling throughout this portion of the product's life cycle. Some level of variation or deviation from the intended design is generally natural to repetitive processes like tip manufacturing over time. Minimizing this factor is essential in the differentiation of products from various manufacturers, striving to create uniform results. Labcon's comprehensive and proprietary processes mitigate product variability to ensure uniform, superior quality tips are consistently made. A key piece to manufacturing are the molds that create parts with distinct size and shape requirements. Here, it is essential to precisely design these stainless steel molds, but equally important to this is to have a great team to keep the molds well maintained to ensure that the expected quality of product is being produced. Molds have various numbers of cavities where each part will be made. These can come in numbers such as 4, 8, 16, or even 32 cavities. Cavity to cavity variation can occur within the same mold for many reasons we'll discuss on a future slide. But more cavities means more chances for product variation that increases the risk of pipette tips out of specification. And specifications define what the product should be for dimensions, materials, and other product requirements. Molds must be built to specific tolerances for the instrument head the tip will be used on. These tolerances specify the extent to which deviation from the intended spec is acceptable. This is important to make sure that the quality function and standards are met as intended. Poor design and maintenance of molds makes for substandard products. As noted prior, substandard products can have several causes. For maximum traceability, should any errors arise during production, Labcon separates products by lots or batches, as you may know it, and cavities. Even with the best manufacturing practices, tip variation may still occur during production. A few of these ways include non-uniform heating and cooling of plastic resin or molds, and changes to the mold cavity over time. These and other ways that weren't mentioned could result in tips that fail quality inspections. And to observe this potential occurrence requires continuous monitoring of first articles, otherwise known as initial products, from tip lots. Overall, the automation manufacturing process has tighter scrutiny that ensures only acceptable tips reach end users. This is reflected in the quality testing processes that follow. This tighter scrutiny does not take away from that of manual tips, but rather it highlights the stringent requirements to integrate with such automated platforms. Tip racks for automation applications have unique requirements. So on this slide, we'll discuss more about automation racks. High mounting forces that total up to about 500 pounds for 96 or 384 tip instrument heads requires a sturdy rack to absorb this impact without issue. Forces applied at each tip are estimated to be as low as approximately 1.3 pounds. As this implies, that is not much room for error for the system to overcome any issues during mounting and ejection of tips while handling. This requires precise tip positioning and rack flatness to justify the enhanced rigidity and imperative of flatness that is required. So Bob highlighted a little earlier the importance of SBS standards. These guidelines provide the structure to allow for dimensionally consistent racks to ensure proper placement in the instrument, to avoid misalignment, and allow for seamless processes. The Labcon has two distinct quality testing types that include physical and biological. The physical tests are the dimensional and functional assessments for tips, while the biological tests mimic that of laboratory tests. These quality tests are performed on site to ensure products are reliable, free from contamination, and enable products to meet both performance and quality standards required by real scientists. So on this slide, we'll discuss a little bit more about the physical testing. So for the physical testing, the coordinate measuring machine, abbreviated as CMM here, is integral to product examination. There are different platforms that can be used to execute this, but the ultimate goal of a CMM is to meticulously probe physical and geometrical three-dimensional properties of first tip lots or articles from each lot. The CMM's goal is to provide a comparative analysis to the reference design specs to make sure tips are within the necessary tolerances. A great CMM machine can accelerate repeatable tip inspections with reduced measuring errors that may occur throughout this process due to the assistance of computer programming here. The main use of the CMM is to facilitate the inspection of seal interface geometry to confirm production consistency and reliable performance. And the seal interface geometry is the region of the tip component that directly interfaces with the automation system head to allow for proper handling. To ensure that this is being done properly, we have programming and repeatability studies that have been designed and performed consistently to confirm the reliability of our quality testing process. Small diameter variations can cause unacceptable malfunctions, and these dimensional errors on either the tips or the racks can even cause a system crash. This stresses the importance of tips of superior quality. So continuing on this same note of quality assurance, for our physical quality testing process, we analyze other functional quality properties, including warp, flash, leak, and mounting and ejecting tests. All of these are important during the analysis of pipette tip performance. And as I said before, automation tip production processes involves a more extensive quality assurance process to confirm the desired quality level has been met. And there are also ISO standards in place to ensure standard operating procedures align with that of the standards as required. On this slide, we'll discuss more about the importance of in-house laboratory testing. Labcon has our own in-house lab test, or in-house lab that adds an immense value for our continued convenient assurance of our manufacturing process. Labcon has extensive continuous resin and product certifications that guarantee safe and effective experiments for end users. Contamination from production practices can be the source of several experimental disruptors. These include live organism contaminants, such as that of fungi or human DNA, heavy metal additives, or even sample degrading enzymes. So what is high quality? High quality is a relatively subjective term from company to company, but for Labcon, we take pride in producing a certificate of compliance for each product. As you can see pictured here, these provide a thorough explanation for all testing done for both standard and specialty products to certify for superior performance against contamination. And the other part of our certificate is that of quality is that we have a certificate of quality that is available online, and it has lot certifications for each product lot or batch that are created for specific product lots of interest. This ultimately certifies that the product lot listed conforms to the written specifications. And pictured here, as you can see, it details the compliance of the quality systems and quality control testing, while also noting specifics for lab testing and product sterility, amongst other information that can be seen here. And now I'll hand it back off to Bob to summarize and discuss a little bit more about our portfolio.
Thanks, Tim. So we've seen that the design of the automation tip, and in fact, the design of the manufacturing process itself, is a critical starting point for any automation tip production. As we've also seen, the automation tip manufacturer requires tighter tolerances and tighter scrutiny of that manufacturing process, as well as quality inspections. These tips are designed and produced to work flawlessly within the instrumental platform they are intended for, to achieve increased productivity at a greater scale and with reduced error. We think it's clear that there's more that goes into the design, the manufacture, and the quality assurance of automation tips than meets the eye. And so to that, we can say that, you know, the making of superior automation tips is certainly not automatic. On this slide, we depict some of the workstation models that we are compatible with and that we design and make automation tips for. These are Labcon branded automation tips. As you can see, the Biomech, Biotech, and Janus systems. Depending on the dispensing head within the various platforms, tips are available in different volumes from 20 to 250 microliters. They're also available either sterile or non, and with or without aerosol barriers or filters. Labcon also manufactures various liquid handling workstations for and under specific OEM arrangements with different partners. And with that, I will say on behalf of my colleagues joining me today, Amy, Tim, as well as the entire Labcon team in California, across the United States, and around the world, thank you very much for your time and interest. We trust that you've gained a little bit of additional knowledge about automation tip, manufacture, and design than you had before you came in. And I think we'll move to a Q&A session at this point. Thank you again.
Thanks, guys. While you guys are thinking and typing out your questions, I do want to share my screen for just a moment and let you guys know that there is a giveaway in here if you take the survey that's located right next to it. Oh. There is also literature, web links, and videos in here as well. You can also view upcoming talks and also the on-demand talks. And this talk will be on demand by tomorrow, so it'll be hanging out in here for your viewing pleasure. And make sure you let your customers know and coworkers who will benefit from these talks. And I'll go ahead and hand it right back over to Labcon to finish this out.
Well, there's a question, do Labcon manual and automation tips come from the same molds?
I'll take that one, Amy. So while produced in the same FDA registered medical device facility, the two tip types are made from different molds. So same environment, but they certainly come from different molds.
There's another question, are all Labcon products supplied with quality certificates?
All Labcon products are supplied with what we call a certificate of compliance, an image of which Tim showed you in the presentation. Additionally, every Labcon product has a quality certificate associated with it, specific to that product part number and its lot number. Excuse me. While not supplied in the package with the product, quality certs are available online by anyone seeking them, be it a Thomas rep or an end user customer. All you need do, is have a part number and a lot number, and you can access that quality cert very readily.
And Sarah would like to know if automation and manual tips undergo the same quality testing.
Okay. Yeah. So both tip types undergo many of the same biological testing protocols. For example, all Labcon products, including the automation tips and manual tips, undergo testing to certify that they're free of nuclease activity, endotoxins, ATP, and heavy metals below 1 part per million.
There was a possible question about 384 format. Did we answer that question for you, Carl?
And you can come off mute too, Carl.
Thanks. Yeah, no, I saw the picture. Like that last picture that Tim showed had the 384 well format. So thanks for that.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Carl. Right, we do offer a 384 well format. Absolutely.
All right, any more questions? No? Okay. All right, thank you all for joining us today. Much appreciated. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Heather, Diane, Beth, and the audience. Much appreciated.
You guys all have a good day.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.